Hi everyone, my name is Raman and I lead the people team here at Log9. I'm here to welcome you to Instashots, the first of its kind series where our leaders and our founders are going to talk about our growth journey in the last 7 years and going forward. Today, the first episode of Instashots is called ReGen. The word ReGen comes from regenerative braking, a concept in electric vehicles where mechanical energy and wasted energy is transformed into electrical energy to power the vehicle forward. Similar to that, today we are here in ReGen to look at our past, what we've accomplished in the last year that could help us power forward for the next year. In this very first series, we have a panel which has accomplished a lot here at Log9. To start with, in our panel, we have someone who's been instrumental in the design of the product. He brings life to all the product ideas at Log9, from conceptualizing design to validating prototypes, and finally, supporting the product system while in production. He is also an excellent cook and can put together a yummy Rogan Josh. So, Ankush, looks like your previous dish, which is Rage Plus Rapid battery pack, took off wonderfully well in the market. What are you cooking next in this area, and what were some challenges that you overcame during the development of the product?
Thank you, Raman, for having us on stage today to tell us the story that how we built up this product and telling everyone the success about it and the challenges that we had faced. So definitely the product that we had launched, the battery packs for three-wheeler cargo. So that was first of its kind, where we fast charge the battery pack within 35 minutes, which was very new to the complete industry. Going forward, there were challenges. So the the path that we took to build up this project was pretty unique. Uh, Instead of uh, getting the values from the people outside in the industry, what we thought of was we went up to them, understood their problem statement, what sort of battery pack is required, what is the range that they need. So coming up with that sort of a solution, we provided them the battery pack which was best fit, which is not oversized, and that is how we arrived to like what we need to make and what we need to deliver to the market. Followed by the challenge was, since this was one of its kind battery packs, the main challenge was to build up a team as well, which can enable the battery pack to get fast charged on the Bara DC chargers, which are already enabled in the market. So the complete focus was to develop a tech where we can utilize these chargers which are already in the market and fast charge it and enable these chargers for everyone, specifically for B2B application. So then we started making up a team of brilliant minds, be it from different backgrounds: electrical, electronics, industrial design, thermal. And then once the team was there, then we started making the product from the very from the grounds up, as well as the complete design of the battery pack, the electronics behind it, taking the safety aspects into consideration. Everything was put up all together in 9 to 10 months of time frame. So then next, what we did was, once the battery pack was ready, so next challenge was to get the battery pack certified with different organizations, world-renowned centers, where we set up the battery packs testing protocols. Everything was done uh, mutually, and then going forward, we did the range tests on the vehicle. We did the AIS test. We did temperature resilience test, round trip cycle test at different temperatures, um, going from minus 10 degrees to 50, 55 degrees as well. And then also we did the life cycle test on the battery pack, which ensured like the battery pack is resilient, uh, good to go to the market, and that is how we gave the product to the market. So that was a bit of on the challenging challenges that we had faced in such a small period of time, and enabling the battery pack for the complete three-wheeler industry, and that is how we are uh, moving towards becoming the number one battery OEM in the market right now. So coming up, what we have next in the plate is we are going to work on bigger platforms this year. The most of the uh, the con- like we will working mostly, most focus will be on the four-wheeler SUVs as well as on the electric bus segment, where we will be providing them the battery packs. Again, with the fast charging technology, we will enable CCS2 charging protocol for them, and the charging time will be below 30 minutes of time. And one thing that will be very much unique in these battery packs will be we will be giving them 10 years of warranty and unlimited kilometers warranty at the same time, which is unique in its own kind, and no other OEM is giving right now.
That is definitely
Thank you.
unique. Thank you, Ankush. And that brings us to an interesting point, because this particular three-wheeler eventually got tested in our very campus. And there's a short video that we'd want to play for you today, which talks about how this vehicle got tested.
हम तोड़ गए जब तुम झुकी, तब से तुम नजर में आ रुकी। हम तो हो गए समा, धीरे धीरे था लम्हा, अब तो होना है वही जो बनाए जाना। हम तो हो गए समा, धीरे धीरे था लम्हा, अब तो होना है वही जो बनाए जाना। हम तोड़ गए, उड़ गए, उड़ गए।
Hope you enjoyed that video. It had our brand ambassador Buzo there as well. Scaling up from product development phase to the manufacturing phase is a challenge in itself. And to talk about this issue and how we overcame it, we have someone who oversees supply chain and manufacturing at Log9. He is also instrumental in scaling up the production of our line from 100 batteries a month to 4 times that capacity. He loves to spend his free time with his family and religiously watches at least one movie a week with his kid. So Umashankar, when you joined Log9, we were still building our battery packs. And at that point in time, what did it take for you to build the entire ecosystem? And as this manufacturing scaled up, what were your biggest learnings from the year that went by, especially keeping in mind the global supply chain shortages that we saw?
So thank you, Raman. So scaling up has always been a challenge, and so we had our unique challenges. So in order to address this, we started addressing the entire ecosystem from the downstream to the upstream as well. So we started off by the forecasting model. We started involving our suppliers who are scalable from a product development phase itself. And with a forecasting model which has been put into place, the suppliers started planning their raw materials from the day one. As Ankush mentioned, it took them close to 8 to 9 months in order to kickstart the project and to roll out the entire product. The suppliers were quite involved in the product development stage. And with the downstream process and the upstream process being set in terms of even the manufacturing as well, the cycle time study, as well as inventory monitoring mechanism, the forecasting model. This helped us scale up the manufacturing to quite an extent to what we are doing today. In terms of the manufacturing, the supply chain shortages throughout, yes, we are not left out from that, but yes, we have built up the supply chain interlinking all the suppliers in such a way that each supplier is linked to each other, which helps them adopt to our forecasting model in a way in which we want, and this gives us a lot of flexibility. And this has been the day one that we always treat our vendors as business partners, and this has helped us quite a bit. Going ahead, I think we have furthermore challenges with the global supply chain shortages, but we are pretty much geared up in order to address this.
Thank you, Umashankar. As you noticed, the manufacturing just blitzscaled. Our next Log9er is currently spearheading the development of our battery cell technology. He's championed the development of our high power cells, HPCs as we call it, which are the building blocks for cell, which eventually led us to develop the battery packs. He is also a tennis buff and does not miss any ATP tournament or any Grand Slam event. His favorite tennis player is Rafael Nadal. So Hemant, Tennis is a game of fine margins where you need to win the critical points to win the game. Cell design engineering is also a game of fine margins where a small adjustment of a micron level magnitude will change everything. Hence, this area of advanced research is of prime importance for us. How did the last year pan out for you, and what do you have in store for us this year?
Thanks, Raman. Talking about small margins, fine margins. I've always said that battery cell development is like an AND gate, where you don't only have like 2 inputs. You have 15 different processes that have to work in tandem to get a cell that's reliable in performance and safe. Keeping that in mind, when we started off our journey with cell development, last year has worked out really well for us in terms of the product that we have developed. So we started off building India's first supercapacitors using our own graphite nanotechnology, where we were able to not only get to a high cycle life, low leakage current, and high temperature resilience in the cells, but also increase the rated voltage by 10%, which is something that is very new to the industry, and something that industry was the issue that industry was facing for a long time. Once we perfected that technology, we were able to build those cells on a consistent basis with consistent performance. We shifted our focus to the development of our high power cells for the EV industry. The focus was to make the cells that are resilient to the harsh tropical environment that we have in India and in Southeast Asia. So we started working on chemistries and formulations where the cycle life is higher, the safety is definitely our most significant aspect that we wanted to focus on, and we were able to again develop many chemical formulations, optimize a lot of things on the cell engineering side, particularly the design side, and able to produce cells with consistent performance in different batches. This year, I'm pretty sure it's going to be full of adventures like last year. We will be setting up our production line, which will be first of its kind in India, where we will be producing cells of about 50 megawatt hour capacity. The idea is basically the technologies that we have developed so far, we want to produce those cells in masses and use it in for real world application, to put it in EVs for energy storage, and see their performance in the market.
That's great to know. In fact, since you mentioned AND gate, we have a bonus question for you. And you spoke about a lot of niche technologies that people work on.
Mm-hmm.
Being an HR person, I couldn't resist this question of how did you end up finding this niche talent?
Yeah, so I think as Ankush said, building a team that is talented and have the right experience is difficult to find, especially with cell manufacturing, because nobody had expected such a huge push to electrification, and it's always difficult to have people who have, say, 5 years of experience in the industry. So what we did was we took a very unique approach where we did not focus on finding person with the with just the experience in battery industry, but breaking it down and breaking into the competencies that are required for different processes that goes into developing batteries. Just to give an example, for anyone working in paint industry or cosmetic industry, right? So they work on different chemical formulations. They work on dispersions that are stable, that have good shelf life. So they can be easily accommodated as coating engineers, because we have the same challenges of dispersing the particles in a polymer solution. And one more example will be, focusing on automobile industry where you have sophisticated designs, and and again, going back to the fine margins, and you have to accommodate everything in a small space. So anyone from the automotive industry can come in and can perform really well in designing the cells, where any micrometer width of the separator can make a huge difference in terms of safety and in terms of performance. So that's the sort of unique approach that we have taken, and I just want to take this platform as an opportunity to call upon people who are working outside India, particularly working in battery industry, to see what Log9 is doing in the battery space. We have huge targets in front of us as a company as well as a nation. So I'll just call upon all those expats looking to come back, making a mark in the industry, to come here, join the team, and be successful in this journey with us.
That's fantastic, and that's made my life simple. Thanks for making that call for recruitment. We'd love to have more people join us, so please hop on to log9materials.com/career to see all our open opportunities. With that, we'll move to the next panelist. He is listed in the Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia 2019. He's a chemical engineer from IIT Roorkee batch of 2017. His passion for tech, new ideas, great problem solving skills, and his diverse experiences of starting up in various sectors makes him an ideal mentor and a leader. He is also known for his love for fitness. Despite his hectic schedule, he works out frequently. Karthik, in addition to building your fitness, you have also developed the go-to-market strategy, which is currently focused on the B2B market. What were your learnings from last year as we hustled and developed relationships with the OEMs and customers to build that strategy?
Point one, I think, Raman, that's an overstatement saying, looking at how much I adhere to that regime overall. But yeah, so it's been a very exciting year. Last year was more about, once the product was nailed on a foundational technology that was created, it was more about scaling it up, which, first of all, I think the EV market, what I realized, was not resistant towards new technologies or new offerings, and that was the first gateway for us. Otherwise, a new concept or a new technology altogether takes pretty much a long time to enter a market. But I think the EV ecosystem altogether is at a point where it is more open to new ideas, new technologies, and that's where we found our into it. We were in some sense ready for the demand that was there with the adequate supply, thanks to UMA, and I think that sort of matched. I think the thesis that we took up was that of a spin top. If you see any spin top rotating, so at the bottom, right at the base, is actually the product or the foundational technology that we had, and at the top was the customer. In the middle, there is a particular, there's an ecosystem that we created, which was making sure that there is balance while it's rotating very fast. So though we were scaling pretty fast, the foundational technology made sure that whatever we scale on is sustainable, is resilient, as Ankush was talking about, and the ecosystem that we've created in the middle of all financing, hand-holding on after sales. I don't think there's, and I can very happily say that there's no one else who can hand-hold customers in their operations as well as good as we do. And it's not like that people will argue that because I think we're at a scale, we're not at that scale as the bigger OEMs, that it's easier for us to do. But I think we have kept in processes which make sure that even if we scale 10x to that 100x of this, we still have that agility with us. The team in itself has been good enough to make sure that is there. So I think the whole ecosystem play that we have played in this whole in this market altogether is something that was not something that everyone else was doing, and has gave us good customer adoption, customer love, etc. And I think that's all on which we're doubling down this year. Will, as Ankush was talking about, more platforms coming out, platforms which we first understood what does the market need, what would the logistics sector need more or less, and what actually, how on that foundational technology and the ecosystem that we built, how can we solve it for them.
Why the B2B market? Why last mile delivery segment in particular?
I think so majorly two reasons. The first reason being economics for sure. I usually put economics first and environment second, because to scale for an impact you need returns. I don't feel that without the return an impact can be scaled. You can think of impact, be it environmental, societal, etc., but without any return out of it, it doesn't work out. So the first would be economics. Consider a B2B commercial use case where a vehicle is running for 150 kilometers a day versus a private use case vehicle where the vehicle only runs for 20 to 30 kilometers. The whole essence about EV is that it is 1/10, and seeing how the diesel prices are going up, it will further be cheaper than operationally than an IC engine vehicle. Now that difference can only be realized, or that savings will be more realized in the B2B sector than in the private use case sector. When you're only running for 20, 30 kilometers, how much are you saving on a monthly basis? Whereas on a logistics front, you're saving a lot. So that is point one. And logistics is actually a very price sensitive industry altogether. So it definitely looks for savings wherever possible. And that's why the two major interventions everyone is looking at is, one is EV and the next is autonomous, so that the logistic cost goes down. The second would be majorly environmental for sure. So now let's look at what does EV bring from a sustainability point of view. That's tailpipe emissions, right? By running your vehicle for 20 kilometers a day, how much tailpipe emission are you actually offsetting versus a truck? So you, in the world, you have very limited resources, be it in terms of, intelligent guys like them, or all the material resources you have globally in terms of rare earth metals, etc., that you have. Now you have a time bomb sitting in front of you of when this will tip over and we will go to the irreversible climate change that has to happen. You have very limited time left, and I have very limited resources. I would ideally like to put all those resources on a use case where I know that the emission offset would be much, much more than a use case where it's much less. So for example, I have limited resources, I'll put it on a commercial B2B sector rather than the B2C private use case sector where it's very less. It's ideally 1/4 than what you get on a commercial use case. So sustainably, it makes sense. And then also from an economics perspective, it makes much more sense.
That's fantastic. Putting your business where there's maximum positive impact to the climate. And as we are speaking with our panel, we are getting a lot of questions from you. Thank you for that. What we're going to do is we're going to take some of these questions. So let's start with the first question. It's actually a statement. Thank you, Nikhil, for the love from Bharat. You want to do an internship with our company, fantastic. Please do log on to log9materials/career and apply for one of the many internship roles that we have open right now. Nikhil D. Riker, question from Nikhil. The three-wheeler prototype will truly be a front runner in the small commercial vehicle segment. As a 2023 electrical engineering graduate from NIT Goa, I aspire to be part of Log9 in the coming future. There are a couple of people who've spoken about how they want to join Log9 in its journey. What would be your message to these aspirants? Open to any of the panels here.
So we are always open for great people who want to do something really good for the environment as well as for the country, and that's what we all stand here for. And from that perspective, Raman mentioned the idea of doing this talk also is to kind of urge you over there who are listening in and who know friends who potentially can really do a great job at Log9 and within the country itself to come forward and send us your applications, and we would happy to kind of interact with you and figure out a fit at Log9. At the same time, to Nikhil's note or so to say message on the social media, I wanted to say that it's not a prototype where we have more than 500 three-wheelers running on road. So these are live vehicles which you can find them very easily near your houses if you are staying in one of the larger cities, delivering you e-commerce and other groceries and stuff like that.
Thank you for that, Akshay. Maybe we'll take another question from the audience. This question is from Rakesh Kumar. Log9, you're doing a great job, eagerly awaiting to try for your battery in two-wheeler and solar storage experience. Does anyone want to react to the two-wheeler and the solar?
So I think yes, I think that's that. So two-wheeler specifically is something that we have been working on since quite some time. After three-wheeler and in tandem it was the other platform we started working on. soon, maybe in a month or two, you'll see quite some action on ground. And the way we have scaled three-wheeler, I think similar sort of scale we'll see on two-wheeler as well. On the solar storage, definitely it makes a lot of sense. The battery, so if you have to talk about it from a sustainability perspective, both and also from commercial perspective, batteries can live for 15 to 25 years pretty easily. That very much aligns with how a solar panel is supposed to, survive for. So we are in the process of creating a product. It's just that it can't go alone. It has to be the whole power electronics, the solar panel designing, the system sizing altogether has to be very much in sync with each other. So we're finalizing certain SKUs in each segment, be it at the residential level, be it at the commercial level, or be it at the bigger utility level itself. SKUs that are pretty standard and can go completely. You don't just get a battery from us. With our partners or partner ecosystem that we have, you get the complete battery plus the power electronics, inverters, etc., and the solar all together as a standard product.
Thank you for that.
I'd just
Karthik.
like to add one point here. So solar is a very important point in the larger scheme of things. See, without green energy, you cannot solve for clean mobility. And if you really have to scale clean energy on the grid level, today we have around 38% of installed capacity which is coming from renewable energy. But in terms of total energy produced, it's only 20%. And that difference is because renewables only generate energy for a very short amount of time during the day. And if we want to use renewable energy throughout the 24 hours, then storage becomes very, very relevant. And batteries then have to come into the picture. And if we really want to achieve the Prime Minister's vision of 500 gigawatt of renewable energy generation by 2030, batteries will play a very important role. And the only challenge today is that the normal batteries just don't last long enough. But with batteries coming in from Log9, which can last for more than 20 years, that problem gets taken away. And hence now you can have a reliable storage solution combined with solar or wind installations, which can provide you more and more clean energy on the grid.
Thank you for that responses panel. That's a great opportunity for us to then maybe introduce our next panelist, though he has already answered a couple of questions for us. Akshay is a graduate from IIT Roorkee. He did his engineering from there and then later also a PhD. On the personal side, he loves dogs. By the way, we have 3 dogs on campus, and one of those dogs, Buzo, he is our co-CEO, Chief Entertainment Officer, and happens to be Akshay's dog. Akshay also loves to climb peaks. He's part of the ascenders community at Log9, folks who love to trek. And like his love for peaks, Log9 is also scaling great heights, all thanks to his vision. We are seeing tremendous growth in various areas to the extent that we can now say that we are at an inflection point of growth, Akshay. What, according to you, are the key events that defined us, and what are those key things that we are looking forward for the future?
I think the approach to various challenges that are there in the ecosystem, whenever you are kind of starting or a part of a growing ecosystem or a nascent ecosystem in that sense, there are a lot of challenges. And for example, one of the challenges was that how do you reduce the timelines of taking a product from development to market? For example, we make batteries, but we don't make vehicles. So how do you make sure that the vehicle OEMs can align with our pace and our ideas of taking a product to market? So what we did was that instead of first working with the OEMs, we first worked with the customers. We took a vehicle, integrated a battery on our own, and then took it to customers, did trials with them, took their feedback, and with the customers went to the OEM and said that, boss, this is what the market is requiring, this is what solution we can provide, and now let's give it to the customers which are already demanding this solution in the market. And that helped us to kind of crunch a lot of timelines and do it responsibly so as well. Because when we were doing these customer pilots, we were already getting to know what kind of problems that can come up on the road when the vehicles are there, what kind of challenges can be faced, and we were able to pre-tweak them even before working with the OEMs itself. And as we were working with the OEMs, we could also validate the various architectures, the design, the electronics on the vehicle platform itself, with ensure that once the battery is over there, it is performing resiliently, reliably, and can provide that peace of mind to the end customer. So these kind of small hacks and strategies helped us grow very quickly. Highlights for me particularly were that within 3 months, we were able to put more than 1,000 batteries on road. We were able to scale our manufacturing. Thanks to Uma and team here for that to happen. We were able to go from your first prototype of a battery pack to the launch of the product in the market in less than 9 months' time. Thanks to Ankush and team over here in that sense, we were able to scale charging infra and the rest of the ecosystem. We already have, I think, more than 300 rapid charging guns live on our network, right? All thanks to the team which is working with Karthik on enabling the ecosystem I was talking about, right? So those kind of things have really helped us catapult into a leadership position when it comes to advanced batteries and technologies in the market. At the same time, we have seen phenomenal growth in the team as well. Today we are almost 350, 400 people strong across multiple functions. And the best part that I like is that I think in terms of percentages, we will be the highest R&D oriented company in the country, at least, if not in the world. Probably in the world as well. 25% of our team is dedicated towards product development, R&D, cell or battery, whatever it is, right? Which is a phenomenal feat in itself. Having that strong talent density available within us in this campus to create more and more advanced technologies relevant for India and the tropical world. So with this in the background, I think we are gearing towards more and more platforms in the coming year, scaling up to tens of thousands of battery packs across 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers, and also establish the first ever Indian-made cell to go commercial in the coming year, as Hemant was alluding to, and that is going to be the biggest feat that we'll achieve in the year to come.
That's fantastic, Akshay. I think the growth plans for Log9, they're really, really huge, and I think the talent density piece that was mentioned again, the focus on R&D, there's a lot of innovation happening, and a lot of people want to know what those innovations are. And there's one question again by Rakesh, maybe a question back to Akshay. This is, what is the battery chemistry?
Yeah, this question has been asked quite a bit to us on various channels, in person, online and otherwise. And taking a clue from there, we are hosting this event on 21st of April, which is called Day Zero. And on this day, we will be opening up our entire technology to the world. What is the roadmap? How does our chemistry becomes the most resilient and the reliable chemistry from an India and tropical conditions perspective? Also, not just the weather conditions, but also the type of vehicles that we are putting these batteries into. So please join us on that day to get a deeper dive into how Hemant and team are building a cell level technology and what is the roadmap towards self-reliance in India when it comes to the materials and the chemistry choices in general.
Thanks for that. Maybe we'll take one more audience question from Mohit, and probably this is for Karthik. Mohit's question is, what is your strategy for existing ICE vehicle conversion? Apart from tailpipe emissions, the new vehicle manufacturing processes also add carbon emissions enormously.
So point one, so I think segmenting it into both private use case vehicle and commercial use case vehicle, it makes a lot of sense to retrofit such solutions in the commercial use case, for sure. Private use case, not a very, so the same argument, right? You just are running for 20, 30 kilometers, your tailpipe emissions are not high, so why to do it there? Commercial, definitely an interesting proposition, and Log9 itself will also be coming out with the solution in that sector this year. Rest, I think, yes, you're right. Every new vehicle being manufactured is an emission in itself. But so today, if you see how EV market is progressing, is that every year there is a quantum of new vehicles that have to be manufactured, vehicles overall, be it in the commercial sector, be it in the private use case sector, irrespective of EV. There is a requirement, be it due to population growth, be it due to more logistics happening in the e-commerce sector, e-commerce expanding, etc. All that is happening is that this is converting, or this new production that is happening is converting into electric altogether. So it's not like that every year if there were 100 vehicles to be made, now we're making 200 vehicles, 100 EV, 100 IC. No. Those 100 vehicles which were to be manufactured for that year are now converting very rapidly because of all the ecosystem getting enabled today, technologies maturing and all. It is now converting into electric vehicle. And for the vehicles which were already there, so beyond a point, more than 8 years, 10 years, if the vehicle is there, then nonetheless it should go for scrap and recycling. For the vehicles which have been manufactured in the last 5 to 7 years and still have a life of 7-8 years left, my opinion is that the commercial sector definitely should go for a retrofitment as a solution, which I think a lot of state governments have also announced that they'll push. The private use case, to be honest, doesn't make sense. You have limited resources. You'll always put you would rather put all those resources behind a new electric vehicle being made rather than retrofitting a private use case vehicle which only runs for 20 kilometers a day.
Great, thanks for that. More questions are coming up. Maybe we'll take one more question from the audience. This one seems to be for Hemant, but we'll probably hand it over to the rest of the audience as well. So Hemant, the question from Gaurav Mahunta is, why do you think aluminium plus water combination is better when it is certainly not more affordable than normal electric?
Thanks for the question, Gaurav. I think what people have to realize is that every battery chemistry will have its own use case. The reason being, I'll just take a very small example of how lead acid and lithium ion compared. With lead acid, you have to put more batteries because it gives less power. And with lithium ion batteries, because you can have more power, so you can reduce the size of your battery pack. Now, lithium-ion batteries are good for cars like passenger cars like Tigor or Kona, etc. But putting those battery packs in trucks doesn't make sense because they have a big cargo load. Either you can carry the batteries or the cargo, right? And most importantly, when it comes to the energy storage, and for the renewables to be successful, Akshay pointed out why it is important for solar and wind to be successful if you want to have a proper green future ahead of us. You need a proper energy storage which cannot just go on for a storage of 4 hours or 5 hours or 6 hours. You need batteries that can store or can give you energy for 48 hours or 100 hours. And that cannot be solved by lithium-ion batteries. Just the sheer number of resources that you will need to make those big batteries for long-term storage is huge. And that's why the concept of aluminium air comes in, where you just have to mechanically replace the aluminium, which is essentially acting as a fuel. And that's a 5-minute process. You just change it out and you're good to go. And that's a category in itself that has to be worked upon. Yes, lithium-ion batteries are perfect for certain use case experience, but there will be the cases of long-term storage, more than 50 hours of storage, which only aluminium air batteries can sustain.
Thank you for that, Hemant.
So just to build on what Hemant was mentioning, right? So any mobility level or application can be divided into 2 segments, short haul and long haul. So while we have our own lithium-ion technology, which is coming out as RapidX batteries, what Ankush and team has developed, and you see them in 3-wheelers already and 2-wheelers upcoming and then 4-wheelers later, right? These vehicles, all of these vehicles and platforms are meant for intra-city usage, for short haul distances, less than 150-200 kilometers maximum range requirement in that sense. And other lithium-ion batteries, for example, can also suffice if you make the right choices to 350 odd kilometer range requirements in that sense. But beyond that, it becomes really difficult to have lithium-ion batteries give you a longer range platform. And that's when you need something which can be refueled, something like an aluminium fuel cell, which can give you a longer range, 1,000 kilometers plus, for example. And hence, we are looking at both these technologies, lithium-ion based batteries for the short haul and aluminium fuel cell based technologies for the long haul requirements as that market starts to pick up more traction. So we're still waiting for more platforms like trucks and buses, long haul trucks and buses to come up in the market before we launch our aluminium fuel cell batteries there in the market in that sense.
We spoke about mobility. There's one more question that came up our way, which is, which batteries are more suitable from your perspective to home storage, and what are you working on?
So home storage batteries, let's look at what is the requirement for home storage, right? Today you build your new house or you have taken up a new flat, for example, somewhere, right? you want to install systems inside that house. Now, except for your inverter batteries or your power backup batteries, there's nothing else which you typically end up changing every 3-4 years. Rest everything is once installed, and then you only after 15-20 years something starts to malfunction, then you think about replacing or bringing in a new thing. Even a television lasts longer, right? So from that perspective, what we need at a home level as well is batteries which you install and you forget about them. Things should work on their own. Things should sustain the life of the house itself or till the time you're living there. And from that perspective, the focus from Log9 is to build batteries for these power backup or stationary storage applications, which can last as long as 20 years or more in that sense. And at the same time, do so consistently without you having to put a separate air conditioner for the battery pack as well. So the idea is make batteries which are resilient for Indian conditions and can last very, very long.
Great. Thank you for that, Akshay. I think it's a great opportunity for me now to maybe introduce our next panelist. Our next panelist is a seasoned deep tech entrepreneur and is the co-founder at Log9. He comes with over 17 years of experience in drug discovery, nanomedicine, material sciences, and innovation management. He loves to keep himself active all the time. He's an ardent yoga enthusiast, and he also plays the guitar very well. During his spare time, when he's not doing any asanas, you can find him building the Log9 music band, Rock Niners. So Pankaj, Log9 was in a transformational phase last year. We grew by 10x within a short period of time. As you developed the overall team and got this band of leaders together, what were some key things that you had on your mind?
I think the idea was to build a rock band. To get the most talented people to come and operate and create something that's magical. And it's not every day that you get an opportunity to do that. I think Log9 is the largest and the biggest stage that a rock band of deep technologists can come together and create something that can last not as a one-time wonder song, but can last as something that you'll keep on listening to after 10 years, 20 years. That's the time scale at which our technologies are being built for. I mean, when we are talking to people trying to bring them in, we're not asking them to create an app that has a shelf life of 3 months. We're asking them to create technologies that will live for 20 years and will power up this country for 20 years. So I think there is that promise with which our conversations have always started. I'm just being fortunate enough to have the opportunity to interact with so many people, take the interviews, and have the opportunity to bring them into this organization. And it has been a revelation. I think India is seeded with real good talent. And I think our time and moment in the history has really arrived where everybody wanted to look at India and said, why don't we have a Google from India? Why don't we have a Microsoft equivalent out of India? And perhaps the missing piece was getting these band of rock stars together and find them and give them challenging work. And it all starts from just bringing the right talent pool, giving them the freedom. The average age of the organization is what Akshay's age is. So we are 29-year-old average age. Perhaps I'm one of the senior most here. And that's why I do a lot of yoga to fit in. But having said that, because we have such a young, vibrant bunch of guys and girls who have decided to do this with us, there's absolutely no barrier to thinking what can be done and what cannot be done. I think we are biased toward action. We are not paralyzed by overthinking. We are going forward. We are brave enough. We understand failures will come on the way, and we don't fear those failures. And I think once you give that kind of a landscape to a brilliant engineer or a scientist or a business development guy or a material scientist, that go ahead, do it, create it. You may fail, but we will stand by you. And it's on the brick wall of our failures that our success will come. And that's why our competitors will find it difficult to compete with us, because we are creating things grounds up. The other thing that is very, very unique why we were able to grow from 40 to 400 is because we love to fix things. And I think that's the moat of this organization, that when something doesn't work, we know how to come back, fix it, and make it better to bring it out. Imagine if Intel was only able to prepare Pentium 1, and they never had the ability to learn and come up with Pentium 2 and Pentium 3 and everything that they've done. I think that's built into our DNA. how do I take the first product into the market very, very quickly, learn from it, throw the challenge of learning back to the entire team. Those 25% of our engineers, they're always not always building new stuff. They're constantly innovating and improving what we've already built. And that's why while Log9 people think that, we're very aggressive, we're very fast, guys, we are very attention detailed folks. And the reason we have so much of confidence within ourselves is because we know we can create something, we can take it to the market, we can get the feedback and make it better every day. And that has been the story perhaps of our stellar growth.
Thank you for that, Pankaj. And thank you to the rest of the panel members for talking about in such great detail, how the last year was for us and what plans we have, whether it's in the battery space, whether it was in the cell space, from a business front, from a manufacturing front, from a growth standpoint, or from the people. One thing that binds us together at Log9 is our people. The foundation of this is our culture. And our culture is codified in what we call as nineisms. To learn more about what these nineisms are and about the Log9 culture, join us for the next episode of Instashots Season 1, Episode 2. I also want to remind you all about what's coming up a few days from now. It's called Zero Day. It's called Zero Day because that was the day, exactly 7 years back, Log9 started. And on that day, we are going to talk to you about our growth journey and what's in store for us and for our customers. So stay tuned, hop on to our LinkedIn page, on the YouTube, on Instagram, as well as Facebook, and RSVP to the event. With that, I'd like to conclude this event. Thanks everybody for joining, and thank you to over 60 people who've joined us on various social media platforms. So thank you for joining us. See you.